It was a golden summer afternoon at the Oakwood Heights community pool, where the rhythmic splash of water and children's laughter painted a picture of suburban tranquility. But what unfolded next would shake the foundations of this seemingly peaceful community, challenging long-held assumptions and forcing everyone present to confront uncomfortable truths about themselves and their neighbors. As the sun cast its warm embrace across the crystal-clear waters, 14-year-old Ashley Bennett approached the pool's wrought iron gates, her swimming bag slung casually over her shoulder. The daughter of President Marcus Bennett, the first African-American to lead one of the nation's most prestigious technology firms, Ashley carried herself with the same quiet dignity that had become her father's trademark. If you're finding this story compelling, consider subscribing to our channel for more powerful narratives that shine a light on important social issues. Ashley had recently moved to the exclusive Oakwood Heights neighborhood with her father, trading the familiar streets of their old community for what promised to be a fresh start. The move represented more than just a change of address. It was meant to be a new chapter, filled with possibilities and the carefree joys of teenage summer days. The community pool, with its reputation as the neighborhood's social hub, seemed like the perfect place to begin. But Margaret Whitmore had other ideas. A fixture in Oakwood Heights for over 2 decades, Margaret had appointed herself the unofficial gatekeeper of the community's standards. To some residents, she was merely a concerned citizen, keeping watch over their pristine neighborhood. To others, though they rarely voiced their opinions, she embodied a more troubling aspect of their community, one that judged belonging not by deed or right, but by appearance and assumption. The air was thick with humidity as Ashley stepped through the gate, her excitement palpable as she took in the scene before her. The pool area was a snapshot of summer leisure. Parents lounged on deck chairs, children splashed in the shallow end, and teenagers gathered in small groups, their laughter carrying across the water. The lifeguards, perched on their elevated chairs, seemed more interested in their phones than the swimmers below, a testament to the pool's usual uneventful atmosphere. It was then that Margaret's sharp gaze fell upon Ashley. The older woman's reaction was subtle at first, a slight narrowing of the eyes, a straightening of her spine as she rose from her poolside chair. But what followed would transform this ordinary summer afternoon into a moment that would resonate far beyond the confines of Oakwood Heights. "Excuse me." Margaret's voice cut through the ambient noise, her tone carrying an edge that drew the attention of nearby swimmers. "Young lady, this is a private pool. Members only." The words hung in the air, heavy with implication. Ashley turned, her expression composed despite the sudden confrontation. "Yes, ma'am. I know. I live here now, just moved in a few weeks ago." Her voice was steady, respectful, yet carrying the same quiet confidence that characterized her father's boardroom presence. Margaret's lips pressed into a thin line, skepticism etched across her features. "Really? And where exactly do you live?" "I've been here 23 years, and I know every family in this neighborhood." The challenge in her voice was unmistakable, drawing uncomfortable glances from other poolgoers who tried to appear occupied with their phones or conversations. "We live on Maple Grove Drive, ma'am," Ashley replied, maintaining her composure even as she felt the weight of growing attention. "In the blue colonial house with the white trim." The same house that had made headlines when President Bennett purchased it, though Ashley chose not to mention this detail. Like this video if you believe in standing up against discrimination, and don't forget to hit that notification bell to join our community of advocates for change. Margaret's expression hardened, her voice rising slightly. "That's interesting, because I haven't seen any new families move onto Maple Grove Drive. Do you have your pool membership card? Any ID?" Each question came faster than the last, like rapid-fire ammunition in what was becoming an increasingly tense exchange. Around them, the usual sounds of summer fun began to dim. Parents shifted uncomfortably in their chairs, some pretending not to notice while others watched with growing concern. The lifeguards, finally aware of the situation unfolding below, exchanged uncertain glances but remained silent in their elevated posts. Ashley felt her heart racing but kept her voice steady. "I didn't bring my ID today. I just came to swim after my summer study group." She gestured to her bag, still hanging from her shoulder. "I can have my father bring it later if that would help." But Margaret was already shaking her head, her phone appearing in her hand. No, no, that won't do. This is a private facility, and we have strict rules about verification. If you can't prove you belong here, I'll have to call security. Her thumb hovered over the keypad, her intention clear. The moment stretched like a rubber band pulled too tight, ready to snap. What happened next would not only challenge the comfortable assumptions of Oakwood Heights, but would force its residents to confront the quiet prejudices that lurked beneath their community's polished surface. Stay tuned as the story unfolds, revealing how a simple afternoon at the pool became a powerful lesson in justice, courage, and the importance of standing up for what's right. The tension at Oakwood Heights pool had reached a breaking point. Margaret Whitmore's fingers moved swiftly across her phone screen, her voice carrying an exaggerated urgency that drew even more attention from the growing crowd of onlookers. Yes, security? This is Margaret Whitmore at the main pool. We have an unauthorized person here who refuses to leave. I need someone to come immediately. Ashley Bennett stood her ground, her hands clasped tightly at her sides, fighting to maintain the poise her father had always taught her was essential in challenging moments. The whispers around the pool grew louder, a current of discomfort rippling through the afternoon air. If you're just joining us on this journey, make sure to subscribe to our channel for more stories that challenge our perspectives and promote understanding. The security guards arrived within minutes, two men in crisp uniforms who walked with an air of authority that seemed almost rehearsed. The first guard, James Mitchell, approached with his clipboard held like a shield. Behind him, Officer Frank Reynolds surveyed the scene with practiced detachment. We received a report about a potential trespasser, Mitchell announced, his eyes moving between Ashley and Margaret. Ashley took a deep breath, her voice remaining steady despite the humiliation burning in her chest. My name is Ashley Bennett. I live here in Oakwood Heights with my father. We moved in 3 weeks ago. She gestured toward Maple Grove Drive, visible just beyond the pool's fence. Our house is right there. Margaret's scoff cut through the air like a knife. Anyone could say that, she interjected, her arms crossed tightly across her chest. We need proof. This is a private community, and we have standards to maintain. The emphasis she placed on standards hung heavy in the air, its implications clear to everyone present. Officer Reynolds stepped forward, his expression stern but not unkind. Do you have any form of identification with you, young lady? A pool pass, perhaps? His tone suggested he was simply following protocol, but the question itself felt like another weight added to Ashley's shoulders. No, sir, Ashley replied, her composure beginning to crack slightly. I came straight from my study group, but I can call my father. He's at work right now, but Margaret's interruption was swift and dismissive. Oh, please, if she really lived here, she'd have proper documentation. That's what we all have to do. Her gesture encompassed the other poolgoers, many of whom were now watching the scene unfold with a mix of discomfort and curiosity. Don't forget to hit that notification bell to stay updated on more powerful stories like this one. The silence from the other residents spoke volumes. Some parents gathered their children closer, while others pretended to be absorbed in their phones or books. The lifeguards, still perched in their towers, shifted uncomfortably but remained silent spectators to the unfolding drama. Mitchell consulted his clipboard, his professional demeanor wavering slightly. Without proper identification, we may have to ask you to leave until this can be verified. It's standard procedure. The words seemed to pain him, but not enough to prevent him from saying them. Ashley reached for her phone, her fingers trembling slightly as she typed out a message to her father. The screen blurred slightly as she fought back tears of frustration. Please, just let me contact my father. He can clear this up. Margaret's satisfaction was palpable as she watched Ashley struggle to maintain her composure. See, this is exactly why we have these rules. We can't just let anyone walk in off the street and use our facilities. Her voice carried across the pool area, encouraging nods from some and causing others to sink lower in their chairs. But fate had other plans for this afternoon at Oakwood Heights. As Ashley stood there, surrounded by security guards and judgmental stares, a sound cut through the tension like a thunderclap, the distinctive purr of a Rolls-Royce Phantom pulling up to the pool's entrance. If you believe in standing up against injustice, give this video a thumbs up and share it with others who need to hear this message. The car's arrival created an immediate shift in the atmosphere. Its commanding presence drew every eye, and the subtle whispers around the pool grew into a low murmur of recognition. The vehicle's polished black exterior gleamed in the afternoon sun, its very presence a statement of authority and power. When the rear door opened, the figure that emerged sent shockwaves through the gathered crowd. President Marcus Bennett, CEO of Global Tech Innovations and one of the most influential business leaders in the country, stepped out with the measured grace that had become his trademark. His tailored suit and commanding presence seemed almost out of place in the casual pool setting, yet he moved with purpose toward the group. The change in Margaret's expression was immediate and dramatic. The color drained from her face as recognition dawned, her previous confidence evaporating like morning dew under a harsh sun. The security guards straightened instinctively, their postures shifting from authority figures to uncertain observers in the span of a heartbeat. President Bennett's approach was deliberate, his footsteps echoing on the pool deck as he made his way toward his daughter. His expression was calm, but those who knew him could see the controlled anger in his eyes, the slight tension in his jaw that betrayed his true feelings. The crowd parted before him like waves before the bow of a ship, creating a clear path to where Ashley stood. The afternoon air, already heavy with humidity, seemed to grow thicker with anticipation. What happened next would not only change the course of this particular incident but would become a defining moment for the entire Oakwood Heights community. Stay with us as we witness how one father's response to injustice would spark a conversation that could no longer be ignored. President Marcus Bennett's presence transformed the atmosphere at Oakwood Heights Pool. His voice, when it came, carried the same measured authority that had commanded boardrooms and influenced national policy discussions. Would someone care to explain why my daughter is being treated like a criminal at our community pool? The silence that followed was deafening. Margaret Whitmore, who moments ago had stood so confidently in her self-appointed role as neighborhood guardian, seemed to shrink under President Bennett's steady gaze. Her hands fidgeted with the phone she had so eagerly used to call security just minutes before. I didn't realize. I was just trying to ensure pool safety, Margaret stammered, her previous certainty crumbling with each word. We have protocols, and I didn't recognize her as a resident. If you're finding this story moving, take a moment to subscribe to our channel for more powerful narratives that challenge societal prejudices. President Bennett's expression remained composed, but his voice carried an edge sharp enough to cut through any excuse. Protocols, he repeated, the word hanging in the air like a challenge. And do these protocols include singling out specific individuals for harassment while others swim unbothered? His gesture encompassed the pool area, where dozens of residents had been enjoying their afternoon without any demands for identification. The security guards, James Mitchell and Frank Reynolds, shifted uncomfortably. Mitchell cleared his throat, attempting to salvage some professional dignity. Sir, we were just responding to a call about a possible trespasser. We have to investigate all reports. Investigate, President Bennett echoed, his tone making the words sound like an indictment. And in your investigation, did you consider why my daughter was the only person whose presence required such scrutiny? Did you question the motivation behind the complaint, or did you simply act on assumptions? The questions hung in the air, unanswered but undeniable. Around the pool, the gathered crowd watched in silence, many faces now marked with shame at their own inaction. The lifeguards had descended from their perches, standing awkwardly at the pool's edge, their earlier indifference replaced by visible regret. Ashley stood beside her father, her composure restored by his presence. The afternoon sun caught the moisture in her eyes, but her head was held high, dignity intact despite the ordeal. Don't forget to hit that notification bell to join our community of advocates for positive change. President Bennett turned his attention back to Margaret, his voice taking on a tone of measured instruction rather than anger. Ms. Whitmore, I understand the desire to protect our community, but protection should never be a cover for prejudice. When you saw my daughter enter this pool, What really prompted your concern? Was it truly about safety, or was it about something else entirely? Margaret's face flushed deeper, her eyes unable to meet his steady gaze. The truth of his words seemed to physically affect her, causing her to take a small step backward. I didn't mean. That is, I wasn't trying to. Intent, President Bennett interrupted gently, doesn't erase impact. The damage of discrimination isn't lessened because it comes wrapped in concerns about protocol or community standards. His words carried beyond Margaret, reaching every person gathered around the pool. These moments, these small incidents of prejudice, build walls in our communities brick by brick. A murmur of recognition rippled through the crowd. Several parents who had remained silent during the confrontation now stood, moving closer to show their support. If you believe in the power of standing up against injustice, give this video a thumbs up and share it with others who need to hear this message. One of the lifeguards, a young woman named Rachel, stepped forward. Mr. President, I want to apologize. I saw what was happening and should have intervened. We're supposed to make this pool safe for everyone, and we failed today. Her voice trembled but remained strong, setting off a chain reaction of acknowledgments. Mitchell, the security guard, lowered his clipboard. Sir, this incident has made it clear that we need to review and revise our procedures. Discrimination has no place in our protocols, implied or explicit. His partner nodded in agreement, both men looking genuinely chastened. President Bennett's expression softened slightly. Acknowledgement is the first step toward change. But real change requires action, not just words. It requires each of us to examine our biases and actively work to create a community where everyone truly belongs. He turned to address the entire gathering, his voice carrying the weight of both authority and experience. What happened here today isn't just about one incident or one person's actions. It's about the culture we create through our choices, both action and inaction. When we stay silent in the face of injustice, we become part of the problem. Margaret, who had remained rooted to her spot, finally found her voice. I want to apologize, she said quietly, her earlier arrogance replaced by genuine remorse. To both of you, my behavior was inexcusable, and I see now how my actions perpetuated discrimination, even if that wasn't my intent. President Bennett nodded acknowledgement, then placed a protective hand on Ashley's shoulder. Apologies are important, but they must be followed by change. Let this be a moment of transformation for Oakwood Heights. Let it remind us that true community isn't built on exclusion and suspicion, but on understanding and acceptance. As father and daughter turned to leave, the crowd parted once again, but this time with respect rather than uncertainty. Several residents approached to introduce themselves properly to Ashley, offering sincere welcomes to the neighborhood. The atmosphere had shifted from tension to something approaching hope. The incident at Oakwood Heights pool that summer afternoon became more than just a confrontation. It became a catalyst for change in the community. The Homeowners Association revised its policies, implementing new training programs focused on inclusion and bias recognition. The security team underwent a complete overhaul of its procedures, ensuring that all residents would be treated with equal respect and dignity. More importantly, the community began to have real conversations about prejudice and privilege, about the responsibility of bystanders, and about what it truly means to be a neighbor. Margaret Whitmore, to her credit, became an unexpected advocate for change, using her experience as a testimony to the importance of confronting and overcoming personal biases. As for Ashley Bennett, she returned to the pool many times that summer, each visit a quiet testament to resilience and the power of standing up for what's right. The incident that could have marked her with trauma instead became a symbol of triumph, not just for her, but for an entire community learning to live up to its highest ideals. Remember, change begins with awareness and grows through action. If you've been moved by this story, take a moment to reflect on your own community and how you can be a force for positive change. Subscribe to our channel for more stories that challenge us to be better, to do better, and to create the kind of world we want to live in. Together, we can build communities where everyone truly belongs, where dignity is not a privilege but a right, and where justice isn't just an ideal but a reality we create every day through our choices and actions. Share this video to spread the message that change is possible when we have the courage to stand up for what's right.